Hello and welcome. Have you ever wondered where we all came from? Not just your parents or grandparents, but all of us as a species. It's a question that has captivated humanity for centuries, and today we're going to journey back in time, hundreds of thousands of years, to uncover the cradle of our existence. The story of anatomically modern humans, or Homo sapiens, is a tale of survival, migration, and evolution that begins on one vast continent, Africa. Imagine a world vastly different from our own, a world without cities, without agriculture, a world ruled by the raw forces of nature. It was in this world, approximately 300,000 years ago, that the first members of our species walked the earth. This isn't just a compelling story. It sets a scientific consensus backed by a mountain of evidence from two key fields, fossil discoveries and genetic analysis. Let's start with the bones, the silent witnesses to our deep past. In places like Jebel Irhoud in Morocco, archaeologists have unearthed skulls that challenge our old understanding of human origins. These skulls, dated to around 315,000 years ago, show a fascinating mix of features. They have modern-looking faces, much like ours, but their brain cases are more elongated, a trait reminiscent of earlier human ancestors. These fossils are crucial because they push back the timeline for Homo sapiens by over 100,000 years and place our earliest known ancestors squarely in Africa. Before these discoveries, the oldest fossils were found in Ethiopia, at sites like Omo Kaibish and Herdo, dated to around 195,000 and 160,000 years ago, respectively. These Ethiopian fossils looked even more like us, suggesting that over time our species was evolving towards the form we have today. This collection of ancient remains paints a clear picture. The key evolutionary steps that define Homo sapiens are high, rounded skulls, small faces tucked under our brain cases, and prominent chins, all first appeared in Africa. These early modern humans weren't just sitting still. They were living, adapting, and innovating. Archaeological sites from this period reveal sophisticated toolkits, the use of pigments, and perhaps even the first stirrings of symbolic thought. They were laying the groundwork for the future of humanity. Now let's talk about the famous out-of-Africa model. For a long time, the prevailing theory was that modern humans evolved in Africa, and then in a single major wave of migration around 60,000 to 70,000 years ago, they expanded across the globe. As they moved into new territories in Asia and Europe, they encountered and eventually replaced other archaic human species, like the Neanderthals and Denisovans. Fossil evidence strongly supports this. We find the oldest modern human fossils exclusively in Africa, and then progressively younger ones as we move into the Middle East, Europe, Asia, and finally the Americas and Oceania. It's like following a trail of breadcrumbs leading back to a single starting point. This model explains why, despite our incredible diversity, all people alive today are so genetically similar. Which brings us to our second line of powerful evidence, genetics. Our DNA holds the history of our ancestors. By comparing the genetic codes of people from different populations around the world, scientists can build a family tree for our entire species. And what does this tree show? It shows that the greatest genetic diversity is found within African populations. This is exactly what you'd expect if Africa was the ancestral homeland. A population that has been around for longer has had more time to accumulate genetic variations. Populations that left Africa to colonize the rest of the world were smaller founder groups, and they carried only a subset of that original African genetic diversity with them. Think of it like this. Imagine a big jar full of different colored marbles. That's the genetic diversity in Africa. If you take a small handful of those marbles to start a new jar somewhere else, your new jar will have far less variety than the original. That's what happened when humans migrated out of Africa. This founder effect is a classic signature of a migration from a single point of origin, and it's written all over our genomes. Genetic studies, particularly of mitochondrial DNA, which is passed down from mother to child, and the Y chromosome passed from father to son, all trace our ancestry back to a common ancestor who lived in Africa. We can literally trace our maternal lineage back to a mitochondrial Eve and our paternal lineage to a Y chromosomal Adam. These weren't the only two people alive, of course, but they are the individuals whose genetic lines have survived in every single one of us today. And all the science points to them having lived in Africa. So we have the fossils and we have the genes, both telling a remarkably consistent story. Anatomically, modern humans evolved in Africa from earlier hominin species. It wasn't a single, instantaneous event. It was a gradual process, a mosaic of changes happening in different populations across the vast African continent. Different groups might have evolved certain modern traits independently, and then, through interbreeding and migration within Africa, these traits came together to form the complete package of what we call Homo sapiens. This idea of a complex Pan-African origin is gaining more and more traction as we find more fossils and refine our genetic models. But the story gets even more interesting. Our species wasn't alone. As modern humans began to venture out of Africa, they met other kinds of humans. In Europe and Western Asia, they met the Neanderthals. In Asia, they met the Denisovans. For a long time, we thought our ancestors simply outcompeted and replaced them. But our DNA tells a different, more intimate story. Most non-Africans today carry a small percentage of Neanderthal DNA in their genomes, typically around 1 to 2%. And some populations in Asia and Oceania carry DNA from the Denisovans as well. This means that our ancestors didn't just replace these archaic groups. They interbred with them. We carry the genetic legacy of these encounters within us. These ancient liaisons might have even been beneficial, providing our ancestors with genes that help them adapt to new climates, diets, and diseases as they spread across the planet. So our story isn't one of simple replacement, but of absorption and integration. We are, in a very real sense, a hybrid species, carrying echoes of these long-lost relatives. Furthermore, recent discoveries are challenging the idea of a single major out-of-Africa migration. Evidence from archaeological sites in places like the Arabian Peninsula, China, and even Greece suggests that there may have been earlier, smaller-scale migrations of modern humans out of Africa. Some of these groups might have died out, while others might have been absorbed by later waves of migrants. This paints a much more complex and dynamic picture of our expansion. It wasn't a single, unstoppable march, but a series of ebbs and flows of ventures into new lands, some successful, some not. This continuous stream of new information is what makes paleoanthropology so exciting. Each new fossil, each ancient genome sequenced, adds another piece to the puzzle of our origins. We now understand that the emergence of Homo sapiens was not a simple, linear event, but a complex and sprawling process that played out over hundreds of thousands of years, primarily on the African continent. Our species arose from a rich tapestry of ancestral populations, evolved through a mosaic of changes, and expanded to populate the world, mixing with our archaic cousins along the way. From those early pioneers in Africa 300,000 years ago, looking out on a world of unknown possibilities, to the nearly 8 billion of us spread across every corner of the globe today, it has been an incredible journey. And it all started there, under the African sun. The story written in our bones and in our very DNA is a profound testament to our shared heritage, a reminder that, despite our superficial differences, we are all part of one human family with a single common origin. Thank you so much for joining me on this journey back to the dawn of humanity. I hope you found it as fascinating as I do. If you enjoyed this video and want to explore more stories from our incredible past, please hit that like button and subscribe to the channel. Let me know in the comments what part of our human story you'd like to dive into next. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you in the next video.